watching the Love and Podcast with K.S. Lewis. On this week, Love and Sweat. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that little glitch there. I'm K.S. Lewis, and this is the Love and Podcast. And I am so glad to have you join me today as we talk about fitness. I'm going to introduce our guests in just a second, but I just want to let you know that my goal each and every week is to bring people that connect love in every aspect of their lives and our lives, even through brunch and soulful conversation. So you've seen me talk to people of the cloth with Love and the Cross, and we had a wonderful conversation about ministry. Last week we talked about mental health, and so this week we're talking about physical fitness. And I'm so happy to have both Will Hopp and Ariana Stowe. And I don't want to delay because it's going to be a wonderful conversation. So I hope you have your brunch plate and your drink. This week's drink is the Aqua Fresca, and I'll show you mine in just a second, but let's get started. Will Hopp is the owner and operator of Alpha Boot Camp located in Durham, North Carolina. Will is a fitness enthusiast who has been a certified trainer since 2012. His mission is to change lives through changing bodies. Ariana Stowe, aka the Beyonce of Fitness, is an online certified personal trainer and 305 dance fitness instructor. Recently featured in the July-August issue of Strong Fitness magazine, she spends her day helping career-driven women to lose belly fat, build sexy curves, and look good naked. And without delay, we're going to welcome our guests. Hi, you guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Everyone.
Good. How are you?
Listen, I can't complain at all. Hopefully you all can hear me. And we've already, said the intros, but my goal today, first, I want to talk about the brunch, but my main goal today, Ariana, you got to tell me how to look good naked. That's the main goal.
I got you. I got you.
That's what
I got you.
But okay, so I don't want to delay the brunch. You know that we have good brunch and wonderful, soulful conversations. Hopefully everyone can see it. I did a flatbread with veggies today.
Yum. Okay, healthy.
I try. I really do try. And so just for our viewers, it's a very simple, I actually use naan bread because it's very easy to pick up at the store. I toast it. I did avocado as my base, and then I just cut up whatever vegetables I like. And I happen to like cucumbers, onions, tomatoes, stuff like that. And so I have all that with some regular sprouts on top. So that's what I have. Will already told me he's doing the featured drink. Ariana, do you have brunch today?
So my mother prepared bacon. So hello. And a little bit of sweet potatoes, and I'm going to throw some protein with that. So that's going to be my breakfast.
Oh, that sounds really delicious too. I don't eat a lot of bacon anymore. I'm really more pescatarian now, but I also don't deny myself. And I need to tell people that, like, I don't want to be in the box of just being plant-based or just being pescatarian or whatever. When I want it, I eat it, but it's in moderation. But bacon sounds good. I'm not having bacon today. My daughter will have bacon on her flatbread, of course, because she's a teenager. And then the drink, the featured drink is an agua fresca. I made mine with mango and mint. Very simple. Again, simple recipe. I pureed the mango with a little honey and the mint and mashed it with some sparkling water. What about you guys?
I use blackberries.
That sounds good. I'm gonna make mine with strawberries. So that's what I got on tap.
That sounds awesome. Well, let's jump into the conversation because we want to have plenty of time to talk about health and fitness. First, either one of you can take this question. I want you to talk about how fitness became an integral part of your lives.
Yeah, so fitness became an integral part of my life way back when because my parents put me into athletics as a child. So about fourth grade, I started playing basketball and played all the way up through college. Now, I quit playing basketball my last year of college, and within that year, I gained 40 pounds. So then I had to like unlearn and relearn fitness as a working professional out of college, you know, not making a ton of money, and just had to figure it out because in putting on those 40 pounds, I became pre-diabetic at 22. So I ended up hiring a trainer and also signing up for a half marathon. Why those two things happened at the same time, I don't know. But I was pretty desperate at 22 and I wanted to lose the weight as quickly as possible. And so in that experience, I ended up actually losing those same 40 pounds in about 4 months, which is pretty extreme. I was doing a lot. I was probably in the gym like 6 days a week between the trainer, running 2 to 5 miles. I also stopped eating meat for a period of time. I did everything. And pretty much what I realized is that as incredible as that was, I wasn't really sharing it with anybody. It was a very personal journey. And so I kind of thought to myself, like, what would this look like if I brought people with me? Like how many other women would have also lost, 15, 20, 30 pounds in this time frame? And so that led me to looking into coaching. And I signed up to become a Beachbody coach. This is all back in 2014. So December 2014. I took a little detour and lived in Brazil. It's a whole other podcast. But while there, I was also very active. And it just has never stopped since. And so now I became a full-time personal trainer January 2019.
Wow. Shout out to the half marathon. I actually
don't shout it out.
Exactly. Because I did a half marathon without training. I want to say it was, I think it was like 2017, 2018. And that is the most grueling thing that you can voluntarily do, especially without training for it. So, it's a wonderful thing if you train, but I didn't. I was just like, hey, I could do this, whatever, let's go, I didn't run that whole time because by mile 9, I was like, somebody please come get me, please.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, so Will, let's hear about your journey.
So I've always been involved in sports, been playing football since I was 6. And that just pretty much carried me through all the way through college. Played football at Central. And so, grew up watching my pop power lift. So it's always in the DNA, so to speak. I've always watched him do it. And so it came a time where I was looking for a job. I had just gotten out the military, was looking for a job. Okay, what do I want to do? And then it was suggested by a friend of mine. It was like, why don't you work for yourself? Basically turn your passion into a job, if you will. And that's pretty much how I started in 2012. So I always use the metaphor of the mechanic who grows up on a farm, knows any and everything about a car, and who's just not certified. So that's all he needs is a certification. And I mean, that'll make him, legit. And basically that's what I did in 2012. And I mean, I hit the ground running, been loving it ever since.
That's awesome. And you're right. There's so many people that I don't know where this whole mindset comes from of having to be certified to be legitimate with what you do, because your passion is your passion, and whatever you're passionate about, you will chase fervently, I believe anyway. And just side note, Will was my trainer for a while.
Okay.
Let me tell you something, honey.
How was it?
All that are listening and watching, he is absolutely the best that I know I cussed him out 1,000 times, and his skin is so thick he cared not about what I said or or all the just reluctancy I had. He was so wonderful. And Will, actually, you were the person who kind of gave me that push to start running, because I remember one day you had me on the treadmill early in the morning, and I was complaining like always. And you told me, you really spoke into my life that day and told me how I really had the endurance and just I could be a long distance runner, basically, is what you said. And I don't know if I believed it that day, but but at some point, I did. It clicked in because I started doing 5Ks and then 8Ks and then that dreaded half. But no. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate just how you guys both talked about. There was this almost impetus that pushed you into to what you do now, and I know that you're both changing lives. So I want to talk about. So I know your approach usually has to involve like either one-on-one or group fitness, or you're around people. But with this pandemic happening right now, how what's your approach to training? Like how's wellness overall been affected by the pandemic, if at all?
It definitely has been affected. I think more so by clients, because for people who train, some of them really don't know what to do, especially if they're just starting about what to do. I mean, putting together a solid program, sticking to that program. So in that sense, I think it has affected it. Another thing I would say is it has also tested the creativity of trainers, and how creative can we be to come up with programs to fit our clients based on the equipment that they have or the lack thereof. And so for me, it has been a challenge, but then again, not so much, because I'm always accustomed to just making the best out of what I have. And so, I think it's testing everyone to a degree, as far as, like I say, trainers, how do we get these workouts together? Clients, okay, what do I do? You have that handful of people who don't believe in online training, only face to face, when in essence, it really is the same thing, because, and I know Ariana can tell you as well, all we do is watch you.
Right.
And if you're doing something wrong, we can actually show you how to do it. The only thing that's different is that in-person presence. But ultimately, we're just watching you. We're not lifting it for you. We're not making you lift it. Granted, we can't spot you, but then that's our job to come up with a way to still challenge you to where you get results. So, it has affected a lot of people. Some people are starting back at square one, but, it's all good, though. Like I say, at least they're still moving.
That's true. That's true. Ariana, how has it affected you at all? Because you pretty much do a lot of online training. Am I correct with that?
Yes. So my entire business started online because for the people that don't know what Beachbody coaching is, so like the P90X programs of the world and the Sean T's Insanity programs, there also is an opportunity to basically help other people get results using home workout as you as a coach, right? So I was already hip to the home workout game. I knew that it could get results. Most of my results early on in my fitness journey came from those same programs. So I was actually really excited for people to kind of like relook at it again, right? Like, oh, gyms are closed. I guess I can do things at home, but like, is it going to be the same results? And the answer unequivocally was yes. So what was really great for me personally in my business is that I had been sowing seeds since 2014. And sharing my journey online. People already knew that I had online services. So I really had to just have a hard conversation with myself and be like, we got to step this up. Like, if there was ever a time that people need you as an online fitness coach, it's right now. So like, you just got to show up in a big way. And prior to that, so when I transitioned into working full time for myself, I did train in person. I wanted to get that in-person experience. I'm a very personable person. And I just love human connection. So I did in-home training in the DC metro area, which literally means I was running around DC, Maryland, Virginia. I don't know if anybody's from this area watching. It was a lot, right? And about 8 months into it, I was pretty burnt out. I mean, on certain days, I had 6 or 7 clients per day. And so that was driving to everybody's house. But what I really gained from that experience was that, number one, how to work with people, but number two, I don't necessarily want to do that long term. So then when the pandemic hit, I had already transitioned from doing that. And so it was like, okay, we're just full-time online now. You don't have any other things to distract you. Just focus on this, double down. I created a 7-day at-home workout plan for free. And that ended up going out to over 500 people that subscribed. Then from there, I created a free group. And that free group turned into more clients coming into my business. And today, KS, I actually have 1 client in Mexico and one client in Australia. So like the online space really opens up possibilities for trainers to connect with clients from all over the world. Because again, like if you can see one person get results, it's like, well, why not me too?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
And and we connected through the online venue. I never got a chance to work out with you. I have to change that. But I loved what you were
Not yet.
Not yet. But I loved what you were doing. And, you know, I'm really big on, I can see when people love what they do and how they connect with people. And I saw that in you. And so, yes, I'm glad that we had a chance to connect. You were mentioning, well, I want to talk a little bit, I want to switch gears. I want to talk a little bit about trends, because throughout the years, we tend to see all these different trends. You know, we've seen CrossFit, we've seen, I think I recently saw something about yoga hit, I think is what it's called. I don't know if I'm saying hit right, because it's 2 eyes, group training, all those kinds of things. How do you steer away from, you know, what could be seen as just popular and identify what's best for you or what's best for the clients that you're serving? Either of you can jump in on that one.
Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes I tell my clients, I feel like almost every day, is that you don't need to be extreme. You just need to be consistent. So many things that you see on social media, this new trend, this new that, like it's a lot of extra stuff that's really not necessary to get you the results, because the consistency is going to get you there. And it's not a matter of how, it's just a matter of when. So when it comes to trends, if you're a person that just likes to trend hop and try new things because you're still not sure what works for you, that's one thing, right? But if you're just trying to get results, again, what you can reasonably do consistently is what's going to work for you. So now one thing that I implemented into my business is dance fitness. I personally like to dance. There was an online certification to become a dance fitness instructor. So I just jumped on it, right? And so that has become a new fun way for my clients to get in cardio. It is a crazy workout. I promise you, we burn like 400, 500 calories in 45 minutes, but at least it's not running, right? It's something a little bit different. But you know, when it comes to trends, again, like don't get caught up in the hype, because the reality is some of y'all just like to be distracted by excuses when you don't want to just sit down and do the work.
Wait a minute. I need you to say that. I didn't hear you.
For the person in the back. Okay.
Right.
Some of y'all are just distracted by your excuses, like, oh, a new workout thing, when you don't want to sit down and actually do the work.
Yes. Oh gosh, I love it. Okay, so full disclosure, I'm that person sometimes.
Okay.
But I like what you said about finding what works and be consistent at that, because for me, I found what worked. You know, it was running, and now I walk because I'm not a discipline. I'm consistent. I can be consistent, but I'm always disciplined. And literally, it could be like, oh, I see the wind blow, I'm not going. You know. And you guys can probably talk about the difference between consistency and discipline at some point during our conversation today. But what I would say is, I did decide that being in this pandemic and being in my 4 walls on almost an all day, possibly all week basis, I decided, okay, I have to get out of my house. Like just opening up windows was not enough. And so I found a neighbor in my new building, and we both started walking, and now we get up every single morning during the week and walk for an hour. And that helps
amazing.
Back into moving regularly. And so we don't come in the house before we hit 2.5 miles. And so that's been great. That's been great. I get a solid 5 days of that in. I can feel a difference. I'm not cranky. I have energy. So I love it. I love it. But Will, I want you to talk about the trends and how you go above the trends and find what's best for your clients and for you personally.
Yeah, I'm pretty old school. I don't really get into this new stuff because I mean, to be honest with you, there are basics that no matter what area you're working in, For example, CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic training, for example, weight loss, weight gain. There are staple exercises that all of those athletes do regardless of what their goal is. And so I stick to that. Yeah, I don't really trend hop like that. Personally, I don't. I know clients who do because that's the cool thing to do for the moment. But, like Ariana said, I think most of the time it's just an excuse. Well, lifting this or doing something this way isn't fun enough. And like I said, I'm old school. I don't care about fun. I want results.
Amen.
But that's just me. So the results will be my fun. While a lot of other people tend to, let me hop here, let me hop there, let me hit there, do this, and they're not getting the results they want. Hence the consistency. But or lack thereof in this case. But no, yeah, I'm pretty old school with it. I've tried CrossFit before, and it's very different. Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty much it. And like I said, Cass, you've trained with me, so it's you cover the basics, and then the accessory lifts and everything else that you're doing, we can kind of play with a little bit more based on your goals. But for example, resistance training, it helps with weight loss.
Exactly.
Resistance training, it helps with putting muscle on.
Yep.
Resistance training, it helps with fat loss. So it's they're just certain staples that I don't want to get away from unless the client actually wants that. So yeah, I can't say you won't catch me doing Zumba. And no knock on it. But again, that's just not one of those staples. If that's something that'll get the individual to move that they want to do on their own, by all means, I encourage it. Especially if they don't like running. I'm not saying that we should just do things that we don't like, but at the same time, there are just certain things that have to be done, and it's not always going to be that idea of fun that you want to happen to get to your results. That's just not the reality.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just well, just to add on to that too, a sign of a good trainer is going to be a person who asks you, like, what is it that you enjoy doing, right? Because the reality is both of us are not going to enjoy the process of working together if you do things that you don't like, right? Because the reality of you being consistent to that is not very high. But just like Will said, like there's some foundational movement, squats, deadlifts, push-ups, lunges, etc., that we're not just going to get away from. We might do them in a different way that might be a better fit for your body. But again, like without these foundational moves, even if you want to do the extra stuff, you can't get there if you don't have the strength.
That's so true. I can fully appreciate that. I do want to go back to, because I mentioned those two words, consistency and discipline. What is the difference between the two? Or do you even feel that there is a difference? Because I think for me, I can be consistent in some things, but it takes, I remember someone telling me a long time ago, I wanted them to motivate me to do something. And they're like, motivation is within you. Like, motivate yourself. And then everything else follows. So how do you guys feel about that? What is there a difference between consistency, discipline? Do you feel like you can motivate people, or do you inspire people and ignite their motivation? How do you all feel about that?
I think the ironic part is you need the discipline to be consistent. You have to be disciplined enough to want to get up at, for example, 5 a.m. and go walk 2 miles. But I think where we draw the difference at is you can be consistent in walking, but if you're just walking and you're not being disciplined enough to be aggressive in your walking, then there's the difference. Yeah, of course you're walking, but are you being disciplined enough to say, all right, my coach said I got to get this mile in 9-10 minutes, but you're consistently hitting 12 minutes. Yeah, you're consistent, but you're falling short because you're not being disciplined enough to push yourself, if that makes sense. So, and I think that's the difference. And even with clients I have who like to walk, I always say, okay, start off walking, but don't mall walk like you're shopping. And there's the difference. They're walking, but are you being disciplined enough to do it the way you're supposed to be doing it? And I think that's the difference.
That's really good. I personally, we had to start finding some areas in the neighborhood that had an incline and had multiple hills, because we were just, as neighbors, chatting it up and having fun. And I'm like, well, I didn't break a sweat today. Like, I can't. if I'm gonna do it, I need to break a sweat because I need to know that I'm gonna eventually get some results. And that's all I had to say to her because she's like, we're gonna do this. And the funny thing about DC that I've learned is that there are so many hidden little trails in the neighborhoods, which has been great because, you know, we can walk down the street and I think we found at least 4 trails that we love. And that gets, you know, a lot of variety in our morning walk. But Ariana, what about you? What's your take on consistency and discipline?
So my take on consistency is a little bit different because what a lot of my clients miss and what a lot of people listening might miss is the fact that there's a process to consistency. And the way that I see it, it comes before the discipline. So hear me out, right? And this is actually really relevant to something that you shared, KS. So you have a walking partner that walks with you. You have accountability, right? We could also call that accountability partner. When you hire a trainer, that also becomes your accountability partner, coach person, right? That's step 1. So before we get to consistency, if you don't have anybody holding you accountable, I promise you believe that your willpower is strong enough, and it is not. That is why trainers exist, because we have higher levels of willpower than the average person so that we can get other people on board, right? So the first step to consistency and discipline is accountability. So a lot of times most people don't have that, and that's why they can never get to consistency or discipline. After you have accountability, you have got to have a structure or a plan. Like you cannot just like wake up every day and pick a different YouTube workout. Like what? That's not a plan. That's an idea, right? But you don't actually have any structure that goes with that. Again, this is why it's so important to reach out to expert help, right? At least ask the person that made the workout, you know, how could I put this together in a plan, right? After that, when you stick to the plan, you can then be consistent to that plan. So it's like, again, sometimes we're not consistent because we don't have a plan that we're following. We don't have anyone else holding accountable other than ourselves, right? Once you're consistent, you then get results. Once you get results, you then get motivation because you're like, I'm getting results. I feel excited about the way my body's looking. I'm feeling good, right? Then you get to discipline. So it's like, if you don't have any of those steps in place, it can be really hard because honestly, like our willpower alone is just not enough for everybody, let alone excuses that are true, right? Like, let's just talk about excuses that are true sometimes. Like, it's true that you're probably tired as heck right now. It's true that you want to get out your house and you can't. It might be true that finances are super tight. You have a lot of stress going on. It might be true that, you know, you're not feeling too well. Like all of those things can be true, which is why, again, like if you don't have these different systems and this process in place, like consistency and discipline will always be the things that hold you back.
That's awesome. I love that. And the most important thing is that those results and that consistency and that discipline will get you to the LGN, which is naked. That's what I'm
LGN. I love that. I'm gonna borrow that. I'm gonna borrow that.
I'm after the LGN.
The LGN process. I love it. I love it.
Single as I could be, but I don't care.
It don't matter. No, because again, like you gotta look good naked for you first.
Yes, absolutely. That's what it's for. Because if I look at myself, and I mean, gravity is what it is, but you know, but ultimately, I want to look good naked for me. Okay. So I read recently that pre-COVID, there were 80% of fitness club members that were millennials. They were Generation Z. First, why do you think that's the case? And then second, I'm sure you all work with people that are from all ages, all generations, and all over the place. So how do you attract people from various generations to stay active? We kind of, you know, we're kind of already being fed that millennials and Generation Zers, that's just their thing. They are focused enough to keep it moving. But how do you attract everyone to stay engaged in activity? Will?
I think that's $1 million question to get everyone to stay.
Yeah, we're not that great.
yeah, that can be different because you know we do.
I believe you are.
Hey, you know, we deal with a lot of different personalities. You know, and it's not, you know, every time that we meet with clients, it's not like we're always in the best of mood. So that's a tough one. But I think ultimately for me, it's just staying true to what I know is right. And I believe that if for all the clients who have stayed with me and have seen like amazing results, it's because they've trusted me and the process. And I think that's the biggest thing, because most people, let's keep it 100. Most people know when you're bullshitting. I mean, if you're doing something that seems out of your character, I mean, they'll pick up on that. And
Yeah.
again, I go back to use the example. Like if I'm doing Zumba, yeah, everybody I train with knows, okay, what's wrong with Will? Yeah, you know what I mean? And again, I'm not knocking it, but they just know that's just not what I do. So I think in order to keep clients, I mean, there has to be that genuineness there, that they know I want to see them succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've bent over backwards for some clients. I mean, going in extra early to help them meet a goal, staying late to help them meet a goal, or, just doing whatever it is I can to help them meet their goal. So I really think that's it, because you're right, Cass. I do have clients of all ages.
Yeah.
I mean, I had, still have, call her one young lady who's over 60. And I mean, she's just absolutely amazing. She goes hard. She's lost so much weight, man, and she looks so good. And so for me, that's my victory, is to see that smile when we hit a bench goal or a squat or a deadlift goal. That's where I see my pleasure at, and it's genuine. And I think that's how, you keep people coming, when they, number one, know they're not going to get cheated.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, they're going to deal with a trainer who gives them everything that they have. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
from a knowledge basis, just trying to figure out ways to set them up to win,
Mm-hmm.
I think is very advantageous. And then, like I said initially, being genuine
Mm-hmm.
about what I do. And, I'm not a big rah-rah. Ariana said earlier, she's a personable kind of person, I guess. I don't know if I'm very personable, but
You get the job done. You get the job done.
Right. And respectfully and professionally. And so that's my main goal. You come to me, you spend your money to get to a certain goal. Yeah, I take that serious. I want to get you to your goal. So it shouldn't matter if we're laughing and talking 29 minutes out of a 30-minute session. I mean, we come to work. That's what you pay me for. And I love my job, and that's where I want to get you. And I think that's how I've been able to keep clients. And the ones I haven't been able to, sometimes it's life. Sometimes they just want to have fun. They like a more social setting or whatever it is. And I mean, that's their preference.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm all about results. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's it. Looks different for everyone. But at the end of the day, Ariana will tell you, hey, okay, you're not going to spend money and not get what you pay for. I mean, I know I'm not.
That's right.
And so yeah, that's what I think. Just the genuineness of it overall.
And Will, you're very personable. You worked with me. I'm the most grouchy person at 6 a.m. that can. Anybody that can get up, you really bent over backwards. I just gotta tell people, you bent over backwards. Like, you would run my mile with me. You would stand there and adjust my treadmill with me. You let me cuss when I was mad that you were telling me about what to do. I mean, you really were personable, and maybe not. We weren't rah-rah and all that kind of stuff, but you really. I felt like you read me as your client very well, and you were able to provide what I needed in that time frame. So, don't discount the personal. You got it. Ariana, what about you? I'm sorry. Am I pronouncing your name right? I want to make sure I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, it's Ariana, like the singer, Ariana Grande. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay. All right.
So thank you for asking. Okay, so I recently celebrated a personal milestone because I had 2 clients to renew for another 3 months. Matter of fact, one of them wants me until the summertime, so we're going 6 months. So that's major for a trainer, of course, is to retain clients. And the 2 clients are, one is in her early 30s and the other one is she just turned 40, right? And so, and I'm a young 29. And what I will say about keeping clients and what has worked for me going forward are 2 things. I double down on like customer service, right? Client service, client experience, because again, if my clients can do my job in terms of marketing for me, then that's it, right? I mean, word of mouth is everything, right? And so I have doubled down, especially during this pandemic, on delivering the best possible experience for my clients. When it comes to getting them results, of course, but also, you know, when it comes to impacting their entire life, because the way that I approach and like my unique style is very holistic. And of course, I work with all women. So we look at mindset, we look at energy management. You know, what's your stress looking like? Are you getting sleep? We look at time management. You know, when people give me that lovely excuse, I don't have the time to work out. Drop
Right.
down 24 hours in your day and show me where you don't have at least 30 minutes, right? And I
Wow.
will show you how to actually make it happen, right? So we look at everything. We look at literally every inch of their life, because again, like, I don't want you to ever have to worry about your weight. Like, for women, it can be so debilitating. I mean, I have clients who, you know, aren't showing up on video for their businesses because they don't like the way they look. And I'm like,
Yeah.
people need what you have, and you're stuck at this insecurity. Like, this is an easy fix. Like, we can lose 5 pounds in 4 weeks. Like, we can really do this. I mean, healthy weight loss really is 1 to 1.5 pounds per week.
Yep.
You know, going forward. So it's like, you know, your 15-pound weight loss goal in 3 months is not unimaginable, right? But it does come down to putting in the work and having the right support system and the right coach. The second thing that I do with my clients that keeps them coming is it's completely customized and personalized to them. So like, I have a client who's a teacher out of Arizona, and she came to me and was like, you know what? I just started going back to school teaching again. Our normal workout schedule is not working. I can work out on Saturdays and Sundays, and give me 2 weekdays. I can make it happen. But that Monday through Friday thing is not the business, because I'm tired on Fridays. It's just not working. So I changed the whole program, right? It's just like, again, like, what works for you is what you can be consistent to. So, and then another bonus to that, honestly, is that I stay in learning mode 24/7. I'm in a
Absolutely.
mastermind group of other fitness coaches, none of them that look like me. Okay. I've been featured in magazines. I'm always putting myself out there. Again, because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, for women in particular, I understand the intricacies of just how deep the way that they feel about themselves, their self-esteem, their body image can run, and how fitness and really putting themselves forward with a better health and fitness lifestyle can be the catalyst that changes everything. I mean, forget new body. What about new man? What about, you know what I'm saying, new career? Like, it could be a whole thing, a whole life transformation that doesn't have to be this thing that you just continue to stress over for the next 5 to 10 years. So those three things, honestly, is what I believe is going to continue to keep clients coming. But I'm also knowing that the right people that are for me are going to find me.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The right people will find you. And you kind of, you jumped into something that I wanted to talk about as far as like the ideal route for holistic well-being, how that. So I'm really glad you mentioned that, because, you know, a lot of people are thinking about mindfulness now, thinking about, you know, their diet. These are things that probably, you know, should have been on their mind the whole time.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel like a lot of times we just focus on, oh, I have to exercise. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. And yes, you do. You got to exercise as well. But what does the holistic person look like? What does the holistic route to well-being look like? And I love that you mentioned that. Will, do you have any thoughts about that at all?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you asked. Yeah. So one of the things is, for beginners specifically, some people just don't know. They don't know where to start. They don't know what it looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, so much so they don't even know what type of trainer they should hire if they wanted to go that route. So real quick, one thing I wanted to tell all the listeners is that if you are a beginner and you don't know where to start, I always suggest that you start. Number one, this will probably be the single most, in my opinion, the single most important, I guess, piece of information that you can take with you throughout your fitness journey if you're just starting. And that is, cut out your processed foods. I mean, cut out your or at least bring them down a little bit, right? Because when I tell you, I mean, the food industry spends billions and billions and billions of dollars to manipulate, I mean, seriously, manipulate our taste buds.
Absolutely.
And the circuitry of the brain so that we eat more. And just and to be brief and to give you a quick example for the people, if we were to tell someone to eat 3 to 4 regular potatoes, just a regular potato, no cream cheese, no cheese, none of that bullshit on it, just 3 to 4 regular potatoes, they would probably be done after about 1.5.
So
On the
true.
flip side, if we were to tell them to eat a big bag of Lay's potato chips,
Mm-hmm.
which in most cases they use 3 to 4 potatoes, they could do that. So one is engineered and one is whole, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
they get us. That's how seriously, that's how they get us. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't know if they still use the phrase, but Lay's bet you can't eat just one.
That's
Yeah,
true.
there's a reason. There's a reason behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not just right. Yeah, there's a reason behind that, and I don't think most people get that. So if you can stick with whole foods for the majority of your nutrition, just that change alone will get you closer to your goals, especially if you're talking weight loss. I mean, there are other avenues that go into it. Don't get me wrong, but your nutrition, man, processed versus whole foods. Take whole foods every time, man.
Yep.
Because I mean,
Absolutely.
they play on that hyper palatability, which again, it cuts the brain off from saying, "Hey, I'm full," and that's basically what they do with these foods. That's how engineered these foods are, but they stay within the constrictions of the FDA to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a serious game, man. And I mean, when you look at it like that, this is like, well, damn, okay. I mean, yeah.
Even like it's to me, I don't want to get into all this conspiracy theory because I can do it real easy. I'm really but when I think about, like you were talking about, how foods are engineered to sell to us to eat more, and how they're packaged, and all the artificial things that are put into them and preservatives. When I think about even the portion size that we receive in restaurants
Ooh,
sometimes,
yeah.
how crazy, like one of the reasons, and I would love, so I don't have anything against brunch at restaurants, I don't. But one of the reasons why I have, done the brunch for myself here for this show is because I can control everything that I'm putting inside of me. I,
Absolutely.
I know the levels of salt, I know, or not. I know the
Hmm.
vegetables that I'm using. I know what everything is and where I got it from. Whereas if I were, and again, shout out to the restaurants in the DC area because brunch is a huge thing here. And I would love to highlight some of them, but they have to be able to provide something that makes sense as far as what I'm going to be putting in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Because as much as I would love to say that I can go out and be consistent with working out and all that kind of stuff, that comes, but I'm really, really particular about what I eat and how much of it has, preservatives and artificial stuff in it. I'm really funny about processed food. So I'm so glad you brought that up. But I think that a lot of the companies do that because, if you think about it, if you're eating that stuff, then eventually you're going to have to go to the doctor. You go to the doctor, then you're going to have to use medicine. And the pharmaceutical company, like everybody gets rich off of that.
Absolutely.
That I'm not going to get into my, but it really is.
But it's true though. Yeah.
Put money in those people's pockets.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's why I'm so glad to see, people farming again. I'm so glad to see people have, even if it's just a little spot, in their backyard that they are committed to using as a garden. I'm just so happy to see that because we grew up on so many foods. Well, a lot of us grew up. I grew up in North Carolina, so I grew up with, a lot of fresh food, a lot of whole foods, and you don't that these days. It's quicker to stop at whatever little fast food restaurant is on the way to where you're going next.
Yeah.
And
Right.
my daughter is the king culprit of saying, can you just take me to Chick-fil-A? Can you just take me to Chipotle? No, I cannot. You're gonna go home and eat what I cook, because I know that that's healthier for her.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on plant-based diets or intermittent fasting as part of the wellness routine. Like, how do you all feel about that? Is it good? Is it bad? Are you indifferent with those things?
Ooh, so, okay. I have a really funny story because, as I shared earlier, when I started my fitness journey, I cut out all meat. I literally woke up on the day after Christmas or whatever it was in 2013 and was like, you know what? No more meat. We're just going to do this like vegan vegetarian life. Did that for about 2 years. Got incredible results. So shout out to plant-based eating. However, I got on that like year 3 mark. And when I had moved to Brazil, I wasn't like fully plant-based. I ate seafood and stuff, but I wasn't fully plant-based. When I came back to the States, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with my diet? Like, what are we doing? Are we doing plant-based? Are we not? And the one thing that I heard once from somebody who was vegan, plant-based, they were like, doesn't just the smell of chicken just like make your stomach churn? Like, does it just make your stomach hurt? And I say, you know what? No, never. I don't even think that's humanly possible. Like I'm also from the South. I actually was raised, born in Raleigh. All my family's in North and South Carolina. Ain't no way. Okay. There's no way that the smell of fried chicken could ever repulse me because like my grandmother's love was in so many pieces of that fried chicken. And that's when I knew that plant-based wasn't for me. Like plant-based is just not for me long-term, period. Now, intermittent fasting, great if it works for you. Again, what I've already said, if you can be consistent with it, then it will work. But if you cannot be consistent with it, do not torture yourself for the sake of a quick fix, right? Because I promise you, when you do stuff for a long time and you have those conversations like, yeah, I really want a piece of chicken. I really want this or that, and the third, that deprivation is not worth it because you can still get results eating the foods that you enjoy. The other thing that I'll say is why these eating plans and styles and whatever work is because it really makes you food aware more than anything else, right? If you're eating plant-based, oh, gee, all of a sudden eating all these plants and vegetables and whatever and fruits that you don't normally eat, of course you're going to lose weight and feel better because you wasn't doing that before, right? The same thing with keto, the same thing with intermittent fasting, whatever. The fact, like, it works by design. They're literally all the same because they make you more food aware. So that's my soapbox about different diet things. Again, if it works for you, be consistent with it, great. I have clients that come to me, they're like, I want to do intermittent fasting. I don't want to change. And I said, okay, we'll start it your way. But if you are not getting the results that you desire, would you be okay if we revisited and made a few changes? They usually say yes, right? Because again, that's their decision. That's their choice. I have to support it as their coach with some guidance along the way. But if that's what they wanted, they could be consistent with it. I'm not going to argue. But I want you all to understand the rationale as to why these things work in the first place. It's just because you're more aware of the food that you're putting in your body. They're not magic or special or anything like that.
Right. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I've never been able to do intermittent fasting. I mean, I think it's great for those people who, like you said, for people who do it and it works. Awesome. Yeah, I have done a lot of plant-based, but that's just my personal choice because, I don't know. I just chicken wasn't getting it for me one day, But I will say, and I think I said it earlier on, but I don't deprive myself. If I go somewhere or if I wake up one morning and I want bacon with whatever I'm eating, I cook the bacon, I've never been a big, steak eater. I may have eaten steak like once a year, so that to not eat that. But that's, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I think that that's one of the beauties of fitness is that there's so many ways to skin the cat, and it really does depend on the individual. Well, I'll tell you what I dislike first. I dislike people who are quote unquote vegans or they don't go plant-based. They make other nutritional, or I should say other diets, make it seem like it's terrible or like it's the worst thing ever. And then in reality, no, it's not, because I do know vegans who are still unhealthy. So while they don't eat meat, shit, they eating like a ton of chips, a bunch of ho-hos, drinking sodas. So tell me why is it so much prestige to be a vegan when you know what I mean? So I've seen that as well. And so I think it just depends on the individual and what works. And I mean, and that's the bottom line. If you want a steak, eat a steak. I mean, that's all. I mean, eat a steak. It's not like, now it's a difference if you're eating, 30-ounce steaks 2 and 3 times a week. I mean, and obviously that's going to be a problem. But, my point is, do what works for you. Once you find what works, do what works for you. And so intermittent fasting, coincidentally, I've probably been doing that now for maybe 3 to 4 years. And for me, it's just become a way of life. I mean, I like it.
Okay.
because it just fits my schedule. So, I start training 5:30, 6 in the morning, and then I work out. So by the time I get ready to eat, it's already 1 o'clock, because I like to work out on an empty stomach. And so it just fits. And like you said about the bacon, if you want bacon, yeah. So if I want to eat outside my window, yeah, I'm gonna do that, because I know I'm not gonna go so far left. It's gonna take away from what I've done. And I think there just needs to be that understanding that, okay, if this is what you're gonna do, as Ariana said, be consistent with it, but also be smart with it. Okay, so you want a slice of cake, eat that slice of cake, not the whole cake. So I mean, you still have to stay within the confines of your goals and reaching your goals and not throwing that away. So plant-based diets, I'm not against it. I mean, again, I'm not against anything. What I am against is, people who just make it seem like it's so horrible to only be vegan, or it's so horrible to eat meat. And yet still you're shoving sweets and alcohol and sodas down your throat. Yeah, you need to talk to somebody else with that shit. But that's the whole process, and that's the beauty of it. Like, my fitness doesn't have to look like yours. Like, you don't know what I'm contending with or what I'm trying to do, or you don't know why I stopped eating meat. So yeah, when you stay in your lane, worry about your goals, and I'll worry about mine. And I think that's the biggest thing that I take away from nutrition when people talk about it. Like, okay, you eat this way, so I guess that makes you better than I am, so to speak. Yeah, and that's the one thing that gets underneath my skin, man. Don't worry about me. You worry about yourself. If you look like me and you're still worried, then there's issues. Like,
Yeah.
worry about yourself. That's kind of how I see it. And if what you're doing works for you, don't let anybody else tell you different. You're
Yep.
healthy. You're not taking diabetic pills. You're not taking insulin shots. I mean, for what it's worth, you're fit. Regardless of how you look, you're fit. There are skinny people who aren't fit, you know? So yeah, that's my take on it.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, I have one last question before we end for today. And I just want to say again, thank you both so much for sharing your journey. I've been inspired to do a couple things differently. I feel like I'm doing okay, but again, we gotta get to LGN. But
LGN.
but okay, so the last question: if there was one statement said or written that would honor your legacy, what would it be?
One thing said or written about us,
About
or
your personal legacy, what you want to be your personal legacy.
go ahead,
Yeah.
Will.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was waiting on you. Oh, absolutely. One thing I would think, I would just want people to say that, you know what, he was very serious about his work, and all he ever wanted to do was help people reach their goals. I mean, and that's it, because that's what's in my heart, and that's genuine. And I've been blessed enough to be able to do something that I love. And as I said earlier, there's just no greater feeling than getting a text on a Sunday from someone saying they no longer have to take chemo pills because the weight training that they've been doing over the past years has created so much muscle mass over their bone density that they're okay now. That's what gets me, and I don't think people truly understand that when they're going through the process. So,
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, it's hard, it's not for me, it's not this, it's not that. There hasn't been one client to come through Alpha Boot Camp that I have not genuinely wanted to help. I mean, genuinely. And granted, sometimes personalities don't match. Sometimes they want it to look a certain way. But I could sit here and honestly say there has never been not one client out of the hundreds and hundreds of clients that I've trained since 2012 whom I have not wanted to see win. Not for any personal gain, but just I want to see them healthy. And I would hope that that would be the overwhelming consent, when I'm no longer here, that people would actually say that, hey, if you went there, then old boy cared about you. And because that's genuine.
Yeah, that's awesome. I concur, and I can attest. I've been one of your clients. You definitely care. Ariana, what would be your legacy?
So my legacy would be something that one of my clients recently told me, who lost 20 pounds in 3 months. And she was like, without Ariana, none of this would have been possible. And, you know, I'm so grateful when my clients say those kinds of things, because one of the reasons why I became a full-time personal trainer and the way that I run my programs is because I wanted to become the coach that I wish that I had during my journey. So, you know, just having anyone say that without Ariana, like my life would not look like this, is like the highest honor possible.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I will say that I just think the work that you both do is amazing. Your passion for it really comes through. It came through in this conversation. I hope that all of our listeners and all of our viewers were able to see that. I want you to tell people, whether they're listening or viewing right now, how they can keep in touch with you both. Ariana, you go first, please.
Yeah, so you can find me on all platforms. I hang out a lot on Instagram and also Facebook at Ariana Stowe, ArianaStowe. If you are interested in becoming a founding member of my new monthly online coaching program, there's a little discount involved as well. You need to get into this group by September 30th. That is when doors are closing on this founding group before I officially launch to the public. So more details can be found out on Instagram, or you can go to my website, arianastowefitness.com, go to my programs and join there as well. So thank you all so much. Thank you, KS.
Awesome. Thank you, Will.
And yes, Facebook, Alpha Boot Camp. Also Instagram, you can find me there at Alpha Boot Camp. I'm more of an Instagrammer as opposed to Facebook. So you want workouts? We have online workouts. We have in-person workouts. Or, I mean, hell, just FYI type of information. You know, we drop little nuggets there quite often as well, similar to many of the questions that we answer here today. So that's it. And just remember, you're going to come this way, let's work. And then, as I always say, we're going to do work regardless.
I love it. I love it. Well, for those of you watching and those of you listening, I'm KS Lewis. I thank you so much for joining me for the Love and podcast. Next week, we are going to be talking to stylists and fashion designers. It's Love and the Look. Hang tight for the outro. You guys hang tight in the back of the house. And I just want to say again, thank you so much. Make sure that you're connecting to your passion and purpose with everything you do. Take care.